Hey guys, so Lloyd here, back again with another review, and today we'll be taking a look at the Hasbro Marvel Legends Spider-Man Retro Series Wave 2 Spider Armor Mark 1. Now before we get started here, let us first take a look-see at both the front and the back of the packaging. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now before we get into the meat and taters of this review, the Spider Armor Mark 1 does come with a few accessories. First up, the Spider Armor Mark 1 does come with two sets of hands, the first of which are these fist hands. The second of which are these thwip hands. And last but certainly not least, the Spider Armor Mark 1 does come with a couple of web effects to net up poor Shocker. Poor guy. So with that being said, time to move on to the aesthetics and articulation. Taking a closer look at our Spider Armor here, and I'm just going to address the elephant in the room right out the gate in saying that my figure unfortunately has two left eyes. Because of course it does. Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but this wave, not just this figure, but this whole wave isn't exactly easy to find around here. So replacing this guy is not gonna be easy. And at the price point, inevitable price point of what is to be 25 bucks, this type of quality control is unacceptable. I don't care how many of these you make a year. Know your left from your right, man. That's not cool. So moving on from that, I don't want to get into a rant here, but that does suck, and that is not going to be easy to replace. But as far as the rest of the figure goes, I really like this figure. I think he's awesome, aside from this. Obviously. I would say, if anything, I think his shoulders could have benefited from being a little bigger or having a separate shoulder pad piece that kind of looped around the pin going into the torso here, just to buff him up a bit, because this is the Spider Armor, and if I remember correctly, in both the 90s action figure line and animated series, he had quite the set of shoulders on him. Now, that said, I think this is based more or less on a Gamerverse interpretation of this character, so yeah, it doesn't have to be entirely accurate to the source material that everyone wants it to be accurate to, but at the end of the day, people like the 90s version, not the Gamerverse version. Well, people probably like that too, but they prefer the 90s version, I'll say. That said, other than that, it is a 100% unique body with pinless joints, so you don't have silver pins on the insides of the arms, so that's a plus. I only wish they did that on a classic regular style Spider-Man before this guy, being the first Spider-Man ever to receive pinless tech. It's kind of odd that they picked this guy and not, like, I don't know, the Ben Reilly or the symbiote Spider-Man, you know, ones that people are a little bit more eager to get their hands on. I mean, a lot of people did want this, but I don't know, it just seems odd that this was the first Spidey to get the pinless tech, but I appreciate it nonetheless. The quality of the joints is bar none to figures with pins. It's so much better. Not a ton of flex there. Gotta love it. But as far as articulation on this guy goes, speaking of which, his head can look up very, very little. And again, the way the double ball peg sits in here is not the best way to do a double ball peg. If they lifted the ball peg in the neck up towards the top of the neck, he'd get a lot more range. But unfortunately, he gets a little teeny bit of range out of that neck because of the way that ball peg is sitting. So double ball pegs are effective when implemented correctly. He does have a tiny bit of tilt, and he can't really look down at all. So while I'll give this guy the benefit of the doubt, I don't know how agile he is in this armor. I think he should be able to look up a little bit more than that. Just a little bit. Not a ton. Shoulders go out to the side a little bit past 90. Or right at 90. Back down. Full 360. It's got a bicep swivel. Double joint at the elbow, which is really stiff on this guy. I gotta do it on the other side. Like, yeah, that is super tight, but you can get it up all the way. And this was the only tight joint on this figure, by the way. It wasn't difficult to crack loose anywhere else. He does have a swivel and a hinge in the wrist. He was packaged with fist hands, so that's how he will remain for the majority of this review. Ab crunch clicks forward, right angle, doesn't look too bad from the back. Clicks back. He's got that pot belly look, kind of, a little bit. They could have smoothed this out, but it's okay. He does have a waist swivel. Nice detented waist swivel. He has a rubber diaper for some reason. He doesn't have drop-down hips, but it feels like he should because of the way they implemented the waist. It is a little bit softer. Is it a diaper piece? I can't even tell. It's got some flex to it. That or I'm stronger than I think I am. Particularly on his crotch. He's got some flex right there. So I don't know what's going on with that. Why he has a hard, soft rubber piece over his crotch there. Because it doesn't really need it. But it's there. He could kick forward 90 degrees. Not too shabby. Kick back a little bit. Kick out to the side. A little bit better than some other Spider-Man figures, ironically. Back down. He has a thigh swivel. And here's the deal, man. This is why you need to know your left from your right. Look at this paneling here. Shy of this being painted, there's no real way for them to screw that up. Because it's so different on both sides. Yeah, the mind boggles, I guess, but whatever. I'm gonna be salty about it till I get it fixed, so just gonna have to suck it up and deal with it. It's got a double jointed knee that works okay. Get plenty of range out of that. Doesn't look too bad either. Doesn't have the cliffs of Dover going on. What about the elbows? I think the elbows are okay too. Yeah, he's got decent elbows. So, yeah, the articulation's pretty clean on this guy. No jarring gaps or anything. Then he has a hinge in the foot with a rocker joint. That's positioned pretty well. He's got the peg holes at the bottom of the feet. For the display stand he does not come with, but you could rig something up for him. I will also say, given the fact he is quite limited in articulation, it doesn't really bug me that he does not have wall-crawling hands. I kind of talked about that before, but I don't think this guy's agile enough to really stick to walls. I think this is more or less a brawler-type armor, so I'm okay with some of the hindrances. Aside from maybe the head, I think the head could have a little bit more. But him not coming with the wall-crawling hands, not that big of a deal for me. I know some people probably want him to have those, but it's water under the bridge as far as I'm concerned. Unlike that left thigh on the right side. That's, again, at the $25 price point, I don't think that's acceptable. But I'm sure I'll get butchered in the comments and told that Marvel Legends is the best thing ever, right? But with that being said, jokes aside, let us now move on to some size comparisons. First up, here's the Spider Armor Mark I next to a couple other Gamerverse Spider-Man suits, the Hypervelocity suit and another Spider Armor suit. Not sure what this one's called, actually. Next up, and for those of you keeping track, here is the Spider Armor Mark I next to the only other figures I've already taken a look at from this wave, the Symbiote / Black Costume Spider-Man and Ben Reilly Spider-Man. And last, but certainly not least, we have our two regulars, the Mythic Legion's Brother Mandibulus. I love it, Spawn, as usual, towers over everyone. So with that being said, time to wrap things up, some final thoughts. Overall, and while I do believe that this is, for the most part, a really solid figure, albeit the range in the head and neck area could be improved a little bit, not a whole lot, and he could use a bit more bulk, a little bit more size in the shoulders. I gotta tell you, the two left thigh thing, especially at the price point, is just unacceptable to me. Marvel Legends was a line that last year I didn't have, I think, hardly any quality control issues with. And now having them, especially with a figure from a wave that is as hard to find as this one, I just gotta put my foot down, man. If you are looking for this figure, make sure you get both thighs with yours. it should be pretty easy to see and point out whether or not they have the right parts or not because of the paneling. But at the end of the day, I'm stuck with this one until I can find a replacement. If I find a replacement. I'm not really concerned about getting my money back because I did pick this guy up from Walmart, so I should just be able to return the darn thing. But at the end of the day, I do want the figure, even if it isn't a 100% accurate to that 90s version of this particular look for Spider-Man. Again, I think this is based more off a Gamerverse design of, well, the same design. So with that being said, I would highly recommend you pick this guy up, but make sure you get all the right parts with yours. And with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you are so inclined, please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you know whenever I upload more reviews like this one. And if you haven't already, please hit me up on Instagram at Overlord Productions. But as always, keep the comments civil, because the world sucks enough as it is. Until next time, I'll catch you guys later.